Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have a very special guest, Adam Korson, who has a movie being released tomorrow, is in the middle, and is also in the middle of a premiere season of his TV show, which is very well received and awesome, called SurrealEstate. Adam, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this chat.
It's going to be fun. And just like we were talking a little bit before we went live, uh, like I said, you have a movie that is premiering tomorrow in theaters. You're in the middle of a season of a very successful TV show. How does that all feel?
It's a wild ride, This business, it's crazy how things come together, right? I mean, we shot The Stairs at the end of 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and that was an indie feature, and you never know when it comes to an indie feature how it's all going to come together. Thankfully, we had a phenomenal team, a phenomenal production company, director, producer, and when we were putting it together, it felt like it was special. It felt like it had something. But you never know. You never know
No.
what's going to happen when it gets into post. And once it's in post, you're like, is anybody going to see this? And then the pandemic happened, and then, what I mean, like all these things that nobody expected. But at the end of the day, we're here, 2 years later. And I don't know if the gods or the universe aligned in a special way. I don't know. Maybe I did a couple of extra Hail Marys, or I don't know what I did, but for this all to come together in one moment is so special, and I'm so grateful for it. I don't take anything for granted,
Yeah.
and so it's really cool that it's all coming together as it has.
And if you guys are interested in going to watch The Stairs, like I said, it is premiering in, I believe, like at least 700 theaters across the United States. Tomorrow, it's being sponsored by Fathom Events. I've seen the movie. I recommend it. It's a great story. We've had the director, Peter Drago Timon, as our previous guest as well. So let's get more into The Stairs, and then we're going to talk about Surreal Estate. Your character, Nick, in The Stairs is not a risk taker. He's very logical, sees things from a very logical perspective. Is that how you would describe yourself, or did you have to draw inspiration from somewhere else to get into Nick's character?
I have to say, when I sort of came in pretty late in the day, I believe the project came to me from Jeremy Gordon, who was our casting director, a phenomenal casting director, and I read the script and immediately fell in love with Nick. And I don't know, I think it's sometimes you read a character and you just get him, you just understand exactly where he's at. I don't know. Look, there's always a part of me in any character that I play where I can draw. I can draw from,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely back in the day, as a kid growing up, I I was the one that would joke around. I wanted to sort of be part of the group, and Nick wants to be part of that group. He comes completely ill prepared for this hike, which is also something that I've been known to do, not on hikes but on bike rides.
What
I've
is
got
it,
stories about
four
that.
pair of jeans you brought?
Four
Like,
pair, four pair of jeans or seven pairs. Yeah, four pairs of jeans and like 8 cans of chili. And, it's just like not ready for what this hike is supposed to be. But he wants to be part of the group. He just wants to belong. And he's got his brother there, and he's the one that's getting teased. There are parts of that I could definitely draw on. But credit to our writers. Peter co-wrote with Jason Lowe, and there was just something about the script that clicked for me. That it
mhm.
just connected. I connected with Nick very, very quickly.
Now, did you actually read the script before you booked the role, or did you not get a glimpse of the script till after you got the part?
I was able to look at the script before,
Okay.
which is always helpful. And especially, I remember the piece that I laid down on tape that went to Peter Drago was in the van, in the scene in the
Hmm.
van. And I tell a story about my brother, and I don't want to give too much away, but um, you don't really know where that's coming from in the movie. If you were just to look at that one scene, you don't know what's happened before. So for me, I needed to read that script. I needed to see the journey, because especially with Nick, he goes through such an incredible arc in this film. I really needed to know. And then after I booked the job, I was able to have conversations with Peter in depth about Nick, about the project. What was really cool was when he said that we were going to be using practical effects.
Yes.
For me, that was like throwback to horror films from the 80s and before. I was like, that's just the coolest thing. And I love CGI, and CGI has allowed us to do so much on film. But when you can go back to like the root, of it all and use practical, I think it's a game changer. It almost, for me, makes things more scary.
Now, Peter told us, in the scene of the movie, there is somebody that's on fire, and that was Peter. Peter comes from a stunt background. What was it like seeing him in action like that?
It was really cool. I was on set that day when we lit him on fire, and it was having him as a stunt coordinator on this particular film, because it was very physical. This was probably the most physical production I've ever been a part of. When it came, and I was doing my own stunts as well, having him guide us with those scenarios, you immediately felt safe.
Yeah.
He was able to structure the set as he would, I'm assuming, on any set that he's coordinating. But it's dangerous. It's real. It's, he is getting lit on fire, and protocols and procedures were put in place. We had to be quiet. There was, I can't go into details because it's something that's so foreign to me. But when I was doing particular stunts, I felt so safe knowing that he was there, steering the ship and guiding me. It was very cool.
Very cool. It is very cool. Now, were you always auditioning for Nick? Were they ever contemplating you for any other role, like your brother, or was it always for Nick?
It was always Nick. Again, I'm pretty sure I came in sort of late in the game. I think they were having a little bit of trouble finding the Nick character. It was, I think it happened all very quickly. I got the script, I got the sides, I threw it on tape. And I think it was maybe, I want to say a week, maybe two later, I was in Seattle.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, do you know if the story which is told in The Stairs, is it drawn from a real life myth, or was it something that was completely created just for the movie, as far as you know?
As far as I know, that came from the brain of Peter and Jason. Yeah, they were drawing on their own personal experiences. I think that from what I remember, Peter was talking about that there was this mythology, though, around stairs. People were finding stairs in the woods. That sort of sparked it for him in creating this whole world and this whole story. And what I love about this film is that it leaves a lot of unanswered questions, which for me, I'm like, that leaves room for so much more. Like, I want to know more. I think like when content is spoon-fed to the audience, it sort of dumbs us down. Yeah. And this, like, with the way they put it all together, it leaves room for you to use your imagination for, more storytelling. But what was cool is when we were shooting this, they had all their production lined up and the days of what we were going to do. And we were shooting in the woods in Seattle, or just outside, and they came across these structures in the woods. Wow. Like these, and we ended up featuring one of them in the film. They didn't build it. We don't know who built it, but it was like, we're in the woods. We're filming this story about this like mythical staircase, whatever it is, and we're seeing this. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it.
Yeah. Now, I'm a city person. Are you the outdoorsman type? Go camping? Keep me in the big city. I'm happy. I have no desire to sleep in a tent on dirt.
Yeah, I'm definitely a city boy. I love the city. You can get me in the woods, but if you get me in the woods, I'm going to be a bit like Nick. I'm going to be like, overpacking. What am I bringing? I'm going to go on Amazon or, some equipment store,
Me too.
I won't be prepared.
Yeah,
You
me
know?
too. I could totally, I'm like, I can relate to Nick's character. That would be me. That would be me.
Right.
I mean, I would think of every possible scenario that can go wrong, and I would come prepared
Right.
for it. Was this your first time working with Peter?
Yeah, it was my first time working with Peter. Uh, we had just met, yeah, on that phone call. After I don't even think I had booked the role yet when we talked. We had sort of a meeting on a FaceTime. That was the first time I met him and talked with him. And like I said, we had a great conversation. It was you sit down, you talk with the director. You hope that director has a vision, which he
Mm-hmm.
did.
Yeah.
We were able to really go in depth with Nick, and sort of what he saw for this film. And again, like seeing this finished product, it's he definitely had that vision. That
Yeah.
vision that we were talking about way back in the day came to fruition, which it's a level of trust,
One of
when you're working with the director.
One of the questions that he surprised me on the answer, I always thought that there would be a lot of debate on how the quote unquote stairs would look like. But to him, he knew it. He knew it from when he was writing the script. He knew exactly what those stairs were going to look like. And
And
that
I remember
fascinated me.
I remember him telling me that on FaceTime. It was because sort of had the idea, oh, it's like these, it's like a wooden staircase or whatever that's built
Hmm.
into the top of the cliff or whatever. And he said, no, 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 no. And he had this very clear vision.
Yeah,
And I remember the first time I saw it, I was just blown away. I'm like, this is weird. It's
yeah,
weird and amazing.
exactly. It fits right into that mythology. Now, you said just a few minutes ago this was one of the most physically grueling takes you have ever done. How much of a toll did it take on you? Which sequence did you find the hardest? I mean, you were thrown in mud, the whole van sequence. For you, particularly, which sequence was the most physically grueling?
The moment we moved to night shoots, which was pretty early on, it's been so long now since we did it, but I feel like we were about a week or so during the day, and then we moved to night. And the moment we moved to night, there was a lot of running, um, nonstop, and that was physical. But I think it must be the night where I fall into the swamp blood
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
For me, that was probably the most physical because I was using my own body. That's me. It's not a stuntman.
no,
I'm tripping over a root. I'm falling in. And because it was, once you get that stuff on you, you're not going to take a shower.
no.
It's just like we're moving so fast, and you're in the middle of the woods. You're not, there's no sort of like, gym shower you can
No.
go into. So you're wearing that for the amount of time that you're shooting. And it was, we were shooting 12 hours, nonstop. So even I think I'm going to post this picture tomorrow on Instagram and Twitter. It's me at lunch. I can't remember. I think it was might have been States. Someone took this picture of me eating lunch. It was in the middle of the night, and I've got like this blanket over me with blood and mud and all this stuff all over, and I'm just trying to get a few bites in. It sort of it encapsulates the entire feeling that but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like
No.
for me, it's when you get to be that physical, it keeps you in the moment. It keeps you in the character. It's just like you're driving the bus and you don't want to pull over. You want to keep going.
I
Keep that
actually
on.
had a specific question about that mud scene where you do fall into this mixture of mud and what ends up being remains. What was actually used? Was that actual mud or was it some kind of special effects concoction that they put together for you to wear for that scene?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. It must have been, there must have been mud. I know they used water. There was definitely some sort of bloody type mixture, that was all swirled together. But I didn't ask, and I was cool with jumping in whatever it was.
Watching the end product of the stairs, which moment did you know if you could say scared you? Obviously, you were there, you were shooting it. It's hard to scare you when you've actually saw how it was done. But which scene really impressed you, without giving away any spoilers? When you watch the final piece and you're like, all right, this is pretty damn good.
I think it must have been the stuff in the van, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, because the night we were filming that, Peter was so great to work with because he was so collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had his vision, but he left room for you to play and to try things out. And that particular night was raining, and we're in this van, and I'm surprised I didn't have to do any ADR because they put a tarp over it or something to save it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know how it was going to go. And it was just me and Tyra and the kid and Brian, I think, on camera and our sound. Like it was so small, and Peter was just on the outside of the van, and we would just roll and play, and then we'd come out and talk to Peter and go back in. I just didn't know how that whole sequence was going to come together. So that was a huge surprise. Yeah. What I also loved was the Dirty Doug. I love Josh. He's my boy. We had such a great time together. That whole sequence also I thought was really cool. The way that they filmed it, bouncing between sort of reality and the dream sequence, and him getting sort of pulled along. The camera work on that was beautiful, beautiful.
Now, just speaking about the character of Dirty Dog, when we get introduced to him in the beginning of the film, you're like, oh God, he's going to be one of those characters. But I found myself, as the movie went along, I began to really like his character. Do you feel the same way? Do you credit that to Josh?
Completely. Josh had this ability to take sort of this unlikable character, and infuse humanity in him, and he gave, again, part of what's great about the script is that there's this room for us to sort of fill in the blanks a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the dialogue, of course, and we know the sequence of events that are happening, but in any script, there's always the dialogue sometimes becomes incidental. It's all the space in between where it really comes alive, right? And Josh had this beautiful ability to take this unlikable character and give him heart.
Yeah.
And he, at the end of the day, even though he's Dirty Doug, he cares about his friends. He wants to protect. He wants to to make sure that they're okay, and he will go to whatever lengths to ensure that. Josh did a beautiful job. Really beautiful job.
He did. He was really great. Now, Peter, when I asked him this question, as you mentioned earlier, this leaves room for more, either a sequel or a prequel. And Peter said he really would, if offered, he would rather do a prequel as to the story. He says there's a lot more to fill in on the prequel side of things. Now, having done this movie and getting a look into Peter's mind on this mythology, what is your takeaway from these stairs and the woods? What do you take away from the story that is told in the stairs?
I definitely have my own ideas of what it is.
Because like you said, the movie, which I love like you do, is not spoon-fed to us. It leaves it to viewer interpretation. And I'm curious what yours is.
I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without giving too much away. First of all, I think that it would be totally cool if you did like a Godfather Part 2 scenario where we bounce between the past. Yeah, exactly. Because there is so much story that's left that's not told. Where are these stairs? Why are these stairs there? Is it another dimension? Is it something that's pulled from the future, from the past? There's room
extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrial, absolutely. It leaves room for all these possibilities. Personally, I feel like we should do a sequel and then do a prequel to just get more of like, let's carry on and try and discover more before we find out where, like the sort of the root of where it's come from. Let's keep guessing a little bit more. But he's the writer, so I can't, whatever you want. But It's certainly another dimension. When we go in these stairs, we are not in present time.
No.
And we know that for sure right off the bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's another dimension. My theory is that we are not only in a different dimension, but we're not on this planet.
Okay.
I don't think we're on this planet. I think it's a black hole or whatever in the middle of the woods.
And that's what makes it fascinating, because it's just open to everybody's interpretation. So let's move on now to SurrealEstate. And for you guys that are our viewers out there that are not familiar, SurrealEstate is 4 episodes in. It's available on the Sci-Fi channel. And let me read you the official synopsis for anyone that's not familiar. It's the synopsis reads like this: Realtor Nick Roman and an elite team of specialists handle the cases that no one else can. Haunted and possessed houses that literally scare would-be buyers away. Now, to start off with, I love this concept because it's unique. It's never been done. Sure, the whole buying a haunted house, moving into it has been done to death, But to focus on a group of people, part of the selling of a house business whose job is to go to real estate that is known to have spirits in there, find out their roots, origins, cleanse it before the house is sold, is something we have never seen before on TV. And that is what attracted me to the show. So how did you play the role of Father Phil Orley? How did that role come your way?
So this was last summer. We're right smack in the middle of COVID. It came to me so Jason Knight was our casting director, and again, sort of got the audition. It was this huge monologue that George had written. And it was a beautiful piece because it had a lot of information about the character. So not only did I get a lot from the breakdown, but in the first episode, there's not much of Phil. So to sort of create this entire character that you're going to play for 10 episodes that we know of, I needed more, really. I mean, an actor would love more. And George gave me more in this monologue, where about his history, why he's doing certain things. And so I put this piece on tape. We sent it in, and the rest was history. Honestly, with this one, because of COVID, they tested our tapes. Like, there was no sort of chemistry reads or anything like that. It was sort of like, here's the product, here's the character that I'd love to play. They said, cool, we dig it. And I was on a plane to Newfoundland to film the first season.
Now, did the way SurrealEstate go is like you guys filmed the pilot and then Sci-Fi got on board, or was it a Sci-Fi project from the beginning? And not only did you film the pilot, you continued shooting the episode subsequent to it?
Yeah, Sci-Fi was on board from the beginning. So Sci-Fi, and in Canada, I believe it's CTV Sci-Fi. I don't know the business end of all of it, but Sci-Fi is definitely our network in the States, and they gave a 10-episode order from the beginning.
Okay.
They believed in the project and George, and as you've already said, it's such a unique and fun concept. I read it and I was like, how has no one done this before?
Yeah.
Like, how, it's one of those magical moments. So yeah, we got a 10-episode order. We went and we filmed all 10.
Now explain your role as the priest in the show to our viewers. What is, your role as the priest on SurrealEstate? So
I one of the first horror films I saw was Exorcist. So when
the shirt I'm wearing.
Yes. I saw The Exorcist probably way too early. My dad showed me probably before I should see it. But I remember seeing The Exorcist. I'm like, I'm not scared. I'm amazed. I want to know more. So when this opportunity to play a priest, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Phil is a fallen priest. He grew up in the church, in the Catholic Church, and he started there, and devoted his life to that because he wanted to fight evil. He wanted to perform the exorcisms. He wanted to cast out demons from this world. And where he ended up was sort of a parish in middle America, and was dealing with people that stole rotisserie chickens at a grocery store. It's not what he thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And then he was also essentially cast out for who he is. He's a gay man, and the church did not accept him for who he is. And that brought to light a lot of the hypocrisy that he saw in the church, and he left. Weird that he found sort of a home at this real estate group, but that's where his home was, where he now could do what he wanted to do in fighting evil. In this scenario, selling houses at the same time. But he's the researcher extraordinaire. He's the one that lives in the libraries, that analyzes, that finds out the information that other people can't find. Hall of Records type stuff. And that, for me, I mean, again, I love Ghostbusters, so all that kind of stuff, the library scene and Ghostbusters, for me, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. But he's also the guy that will use his muscle. He'll use brawn to fight. And certainly in the upcoming episode, which is totally cool, it's going to be on Friday the 13th, we see him sort of going, muscle to muscle with a demon.
Now, there are several factors in this show that make it so great. One of them is its really great soundtrack. It seems to really guide the energy of the show. How do you think that plays into the scenes and how things are acted out? That's just one of the many aspects that make the show so good.
Oh, completely. It's beautifully composed. We all have our own themes that our lovely composer Spencer put together. With horror films, not only does the music guide you, right, and sort of sets up the tone of what you should be feeling and experiencing in that moment. But for me, being a fan of Hitchcock, it's the silences that sort of volumes, and being able to play with that sort of the music, and it really adds a whole other level to the show.
Yeah. Now, another aspect that makes the show so good is how it takes its time with the character building. And a good example of that is how the background stories are revealed for each character. They're not rushed. It's a nice, slow burn storytelling. Do you like that aspect of a show on television? We don't know how long SurrealEstate. It can go on for 8, 10 seasons. I mean, we just don't know. So do you like the fact that right off the bat, they're taking their time to build up these characters and give the audience a chance to grow to know them, fall in love with them, and whatnot?
I think that, for me at least, that's the kind of television that I love.
Yeah.
I love something that, again, is not going to be spoon-fed to you, that is not going to go for the quick laugh or the quick scare, that's going to give you characters that have layers and have depth to them. In this day and age, it's a little tough because if you're not, nailing it right off the bat, do you have the ratings? Do you have people that are coming? People aren't even watching things live anymore, so we've got, everyone's binging. I think at the end of the day, you sort of have to follow your heart and give credit to the story that you want to tell, and people will be there to watch. And I think the arc of this season and the layers that are revealed in all of our characters are such a beautifully crafted. It's done in such a way that you do get hooked in. You want to see what's happening in these lives. You suddenly become, it's like familial. You want to know more. You want to see where they're going to go, and you get invested on a completely different level. And you don't want to force that. You need the time for it to build. Yeah. Which is what the show does.
I agree with you. That's the kind of TV that I like as well. Now, SurrealEstate is one of those shows that with each passing day, its viewership is growing and growing and growing, word of mouth or whatnot. What has been the reactions you have been receiving from fans in regards to the show? Have they been mostly positive or what?
A lot of love. a lot of love from the fans, and I'm so grateful for that. There's been so much support, and people did fall in pretty quickly to characters and sort of associating with these characters. The response has been extremely positive, and you see, fans that are keeping track on Twitter and on Instagram, and again, just showing so much love to us and to the show. Again, it's like anything. You put something out there, you hope it's going to be received well. This is sort of like, gone beyond of what I expected.
Are you the type of actor with any project, whether TV, movie, whatnot, that you're checking the Rotten Tomato reviews, you're checking the IMDb reviews, or is that something you tune out?
Back in the day, I would sort of lean more into that stuff and try and figure it out, and I can be somewhat logical and analytical, which is, definitely Father Phil. Nowadays, I let it be what it is. Everyone's a critic, mm-hmm. for sure, and everyone's they have the right to their own opinion. But at the end of the day, if people love it, it doesn't matter what our Rotten Tomato score is.
Exactly.
We were watching something else the other day, and I was shocked that the Rotten. Oh, it was Armageddon. Armageddon. I freaking love Armageddon.
Right? Yeah.
The Rotten Tomato score is like 38% or 32% or something like that. I'm like, what? No.
Bruce Willis. No.
I don't watch that stuff anymore. I don't look.
No, me neither. Yeah, I did not know Armageddon had a 38% score. That shocks the shit out of me.
I know. I saw it. It was on Peacock, and it's like 38%. I'm like, there's no way. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. Sorry, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I think I've seen it well over a dozen times. Now, viewers hesitant to start new shows because you have to admit, we're just overloaded with content right now. And there's only so many shows that people can watch. A lot of SurrealEstate has been met with mostly critical praise from all the critics. And they're telling their viewers to give it more than an episode. It's a slow burn, but really interesting way of telling a story. Do you agree with that?
100%. 100%. And I've actually been able to see them all. And I've shot them as well. I was there when we were filming. I'm watching them, and I find myself becoming a fan of this story. And it's like what you think it is not what it ends up being. It changes, it evolves. And again, you're suddenly attached to certain characters, and again, you think you know where it's going, and then there's this huge cliffhanger that sends you in a different direction. What you think you know is false. Exactly. It gets better, and it takes you on such a ride. I think, like any good television, let's use Schitt's Creek, right? Schitt's Creek as an example, because lovely Tim and Sarah are in it. At the beginning, no one knew about it. Nobody was watching it. It was this show that was sort of hanging around, and they had great support, and all of a sudden, Schitt's Creek became Schitt's Creek. Exactly. And if people didn't give it the time that it needed to grow and to evolve, we would have missed out on something so beautiful and incredible in storytelling. Same with Seinfeld. Seinfeld was on the chopping block for the first 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. If we chopped it, which it probably would in this day and age, our pop culture would not be what it is now because of it.
Exactly.
So I think that any sort of series needs that time to breathe.
The way I see it is, no show is going to be an automatic hit after the first season. It rarely happens. And if it does, for some reason, the example that comes to mind on a show that gained popularity really fast is Lost. Yeah. And that went a long time, but it really waned and it got weirder and weirder as time went on.
Now, it's interesting, Lost, though, because Lost, it was so impactful, it incredible storytelling, but then they started copying Lost. Like, stop copying something that's already been done. Take that risk. Do something more.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Now, you play a Catholic priest in SurrealEstate, as we just said. What kind of research did you do into Catholicism, into the character you were playing? Did you go deep diving into researching?
I did. I did because I sort of knew bits about Catholicism, didn't know as much as I needed to know. I definitely was able to draw on Phil's sort of stance and belief with organized religion in the Catholic Church and whatnot. I have my own sort of theories and ideas. But, there's certain rituals that are in the Catholic Church that I didn't know of, and I had to perform one in the show, so I definitely went in depth in that. But it was something that, while I could draw on the human qualities to him, the Catholic Church is something completely different.
Yeah.
And so I went deep dive for sure.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in a Jewish home. Now, what did you learn that, I don't know, you had no idea before about Catholicism and exorcisms and some of the traditions carried on by Catholics?
Well, I sort of realized that Judaism, Catholicism, we're all fucked up.
That's true. That's no joke.
We've got that commonality, We're all riddled with guilt, and it's not far off from each other. No, with Catholicism, there is a lot of similarities between the two religions. The big thing with Catholicism, though, is that there is heaven and hell, right? Judaism, there's no heaven and hell. There is this sort of the reason why you do things. You don't ask questions. You do it because it's done. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you're going to hell. And that sort of belief in this heaven and hell idea is very real for these people. And so when Phil is confronting his sexuality, and everything that he's been taught is you can't be gay. If you're gay, you're going to hell.
You're going to hell.
That's a huge difference. Now, look, Judaism also is sort of fearful around sexuality and whatnot, but at least you're not going to hell.
Yeah.
But sort of doing that deep dive on that, but also the church's resistance for this growth. Why are we so close-minded? Why isn't there this acceptance? Because if you look at the teachings of Jesus, it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. What he was saying, and his guidance at the root of it all is something that we really should all live by.
Yeah.
And I think that's for Phil, he holds on to that, which is beautiful. But for me, I needed to go into understanding what that was. Because dogma and the organization of religion really clouds all the beauty that comes from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Now, let's touch on the paranormal aspect. Are you the type of person in real life where you're a skeptic, kind of person where I need to see it to believe it? Or are you, open-minded to say, hey, you know what? We don't know everything.
I'm definitely open-minded. I think I lost the light here. I don't know.
Oh, you're still fine. You're good.
Now,
you're good.
See what's happening. No, I'm one that believes. I believe in things that cannot be explained. There are things out there that in some ways, we can open up our minds to bring in, but for the most part, people are afraid of of the unknown. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I'm like, there is stuff that has happened to me personally in my life that is strange, that there's no real explanation for. And maybe one day we'll have that explanation, but you don't have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
More often than not, you feel it.
Yeah.
You walk into a room, when someone was talking about you or someone was in a fight or whatever, you can feel that energy. Mm-hmm. Likewise, I've walked into rooms where I'm like, there is something in here.
Someone is watching you, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there is thick. in here, and I shouldn't be here.
Exactly.
There's a presence.
I totally believe in that. I've never had an experience, but I'm the kind of person, I don't want to have an experience to be a believer. I believe in it. I believe in the whole energy and all that, but I personally don't want to experience it. It would scare the shit out of me. I'd go running completely in the opposite direction. I'm a believer. I don't need to see it to believe it. Now, does Surreal Estate use any kind of practical effects, or is it mostly CGI?
No, there is a blend. There is definitely a blend between the two. I was doing my own stunts in this one as well, which I love to do. We had a great stunt team. And it's like, you guys haven't even seen the stuff that's coming yet. Like, it's just amazing. We do a blend of both, practical and CGI.
Okay, cool. Now, how do you explain your character's choice of wardrobe? Like with the Hawaiian shirt. Is there any meaning, symbolism? Is it his way of saying, a big F you to the church? How do you see it?
Completely. I remember having an in-depth conversation with our head of wardrobe, Allison, and she had this vision of Phil and sort of his what he wears, and coming from the collar. He's breaking away from that. He doesn't want to be restricted. He doesn't want people to tell him what he can wear. He can wear whatever he wants, and sort of that freedom to do so. Now, his wardrobe changes as the season goes on. The Hawaiian shirt makes its appearances, but again, it's sort of this freedom he can wear what he wants. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me what to do. If I want to wear a sweater, I'm going to wear a sweater. If I want a Hawaiian shirt, if I want to wear big bulky boots, I'm wearing those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a definite FU to the church, for sure.
Yeah. Now, in the first episode, I believe, new girl, Sarah Levy, a.k.a. Susan Ireland, walks in. We see the group being pretty critical about her. Why do you think that is? Do they think that she just doesn't know what she's getting into and is coming into the situation really naive?
We had conversations about that. I believe what we were talking about was that she wasn't the first. Mm. So other people would sort of come and go, and so it was sort of like, do we trust this person? But also, it's this new person that's sort of pissing on our territory. You know what I mean? Like, in sort of discussions with George, Phil was sort of, Luke's right-hand man. Like, it was almost, there was a partnership there that Susan sort of crushes when she comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Though Zoe, played by Savannah, has the most resistance to her. Sort of gives her the hardest time.
Yes. Now, your character splits time between, let's call the office, and actually being at the location that they're doing the investigation on. If you had a choice, would you rather your character spend more time at the locations as opposed to being in the office?
In the field. Definitely in the field. I mean, he wants to be where the action is. No doubt. No doubt.
Now, like we said, the story has never been done before, which is one of the aspects that makes SurrealEstate so unique and exciting. Now, was the uniqueness of that story, did it give you an extra layer of excitement in getting involved with this project? Like, this has never been done before, we're breaking new ground with this story?
Completely. Again, it's always amazing when you can have a conversation with the creator of the show and find out his vision and not only the concept of the show, which is unique and amazing, but like finding out that they wanted, like the tone, they wanted to sort of do an homage and throwback to the 70s horrors like Rosemary's Baby, Exorcist, mm-hmm. which we do right off the bat is a complete homage to that. It's exciting. It's exciting. And again, seeing every script that we would get, it was always like, okay, well, what's coming this week? What's the house that we're going to be dealing with? What's the the malevolent being that we're going to have to deal with? It got really exciting. And then as the scripts came in and George, with our phenomenal writing team, would craft these stories that, again, it's just every script got better and better and better,
I
which
agree.
is amazing. Yeah.
Now, as we all know, television, film has an impact on people in their real lives. With Surreal Estate, what are your thoughts, people who watch this show, the concept, them actually trying to do this in real life? I mean, you can have negative feelings because there could be negative consequences for those people. It could be a good thing. Personally, how do you feel about someone attempting this in real life?
To have a real estate agency that specializes in
Yeah, yeah, like
oh,
somebody, you know what? That's a good idea. I mean, God knows
heck,
we have thousands of amateur ghost investigators now. Imagine them organizing into small groups where their sole task is doing what you guys are doing on this show.
completely, all the power to them, man. I'm like all for it. If they can cast out the ghosts and the demons and all that, and they can sell some homes in the process and help these people, make a profit or buy their dream home. I say go for it.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
I may need to call you and use you one day, whoever you are.
now, television is evolving so rapidly right now while we're still in COVID, hopefully trying to get through COVID. Studios, distributors are trying to find a way to keep money coming in and keep the content flowing. This question is in regard to what are your feelings to big time distributors like Netflix dropping an entire season at once, or as opposed to like what cable television was in the old days and still does today, like with Surreal Estate, where we get one episode per week. Do you like the one episode per week, get people hyped up, worked up for 6 days until the next episode? Or do you think it's better to give someone a chance to watch a whole season in 2 days?
That's a really good question because I obviously do both, right? I
Yes.
love to binge shows
Mm-hmm.
and like, watching White Lotus right now, which is amazing,
Yeah.
and that's coming out once a week. And so uh, yeah, I think it comes down to the show. To be honest with you, I think that there's a place for a series that is bingeable, that you want someone to be able to do it at their own leisure, however they want to watch it. The sad thing about it though is that the shows aren't given a chance because we're sort of in this middle ground between the old system and the new system. Um,
And
my
like I
parents,
said, there's trying to every studio is trying to figure out a new model that is going to work.
yeah, I think HBO has got a great model. I think that they hook us in with some great content. I think sci-fi is doing that. Sci-fi is getting some real great content. Resident Alien's a great series.
Hmm.
Surreal Estate is a great series, and it's getting people to come back and watch these shows. Um, you know, I don't know if we have the ability to keep up with producing content that's only bingeable.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's realistic. You can definitely do both, and I feel like if that's being done, if a show is only being released once a week, then you have to give it time to breathe.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. There has to be a different sort of approach to that. It can't
Yeah.
be it can't be weighed on the same level as a bingeable show.
Yeah.
And we've also seen a lot of shows that move over to Netflix and become huge hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, they've already been canceled on this show, on this station, and then people are asking, well, give us another season of whatever, and it's like, well, it's already been canceled. It's not, no way that's going to happen.
A good
So
example of that is the show Lucifer. Fox canceled it. Netflix picked it up. Its viewership skyrocketed.
completely.
And even within the streaming services, not all of them drop seasons at once like Netflix does. A good example is uh, what is now Paramount Plus, used to be CBS Early Access. They have stuck with the playbook of one episode per week. And the not sci-fi, FX does the same thing on Hulu with the new American Horror Stories.
Yeah.
one episode per week. At the end of the day, I think, each studio is going to decide for themselves what's best for their company and for their viewership. Now, obviously, well, first of all, are you guys done shooting all of the 10 episodes for season one
Yeah.
of Surreal Estate?
Yeah.
Okay,
We are.
can you give us a hint? Are we going to get more of a backstory into your character as the show progresses this season?
Yeah, absolutely. So this Friday, this episode, the fifth episode, is a huge episode for Phil. We get a huge amount of information. He goes back to the church. He confronts people that he hasn't seen in a long time. He has an extremely beautiful conversation with his father, like the father, that he hasn't spoken to in a long time. So this episode is a big one for him, and that continues as each episode goes on. We find out definitely all more layers of Phil are revealed, but like even like the last episode of the season, which I'm not going to tell you too much about,
No.
but you really find out backstory to everybody, and beautiful performances are done by everyone in the cast. Savannah, Sarah, Mo, who plays August, and Tim continues, with Luke to just, again, it's why I go back to say, what you think it is, it's not. Like it's going to a place that people just wait, you'll see.
Exactly. Now we're almost out of time, but I want to say you've had a very nice long career. You're at the well. The question is, would you say where you are right now, you're in the peak or getting to the peak of your career, where everything is really starting to come together for you as an actor? Like I said, with the Stairs coming out tomorrow, Surreal Estate, who knows how long it can last? It could give you, I mean, going like job security, you can be on Surreal Estate for the next 4 to 8 years, as far as we don't know. So, how do you feel about your career and where it is right now?
The way I've always looked at it is sort of like climbing a mountain, right? When you climb a mountain, you're climbing up, and you see the peak, right? And you start the climb, and you have these steep moments, where you're going really far, and then you have moments that sort of feel like you're going down. You're in a valley, and then you go back up again. But even when you're in that valley, you're still taking steps forward to that peak, And so it's the journey continues. All you need to do is take that next step forward, and then when you get to that peak, suddenly you go, "Oh, that's not the peak. That's the peak." And then you keep climbing, and you get to that peak, and you go, "No, no, no, no. That's the peak." And you keep climbing. And so that's the way it is that, one, stop worrying about the peak. Just worry about the next step in front of you. Yeah. You'll get there. But there are these moments. And certainly this feels like a peak. But no doubt I'm seeing another peak.
Exactly.
That I'm excited to climb. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, for me, it's as long as you keep hiking that mountain, you're going to reach those peaks. And for me, it's always been long game. I'm not doing this until I'm dead.
Exactly. And I got to say, I'm very happy just to see. I've been following you for a while, and to see where your career has gone, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. The Stairs coming out tomorrow, guys. It's a great movie. Please go out and watch it. If you can't go to the theaters, I'm sure it's going to be coming out on video on demand very soon. Check out Adam's show on sci-fi, Surreal Estate. You're not going to be disappointed, especially if you're a horror fan, in particular the paranormal subgenre in horror, which is my favorite. Adam, it's been an absolute delight talking with you. Any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers before we go?
No, man, it's been so fun talking to you as well. Let's do this again for
Absolutely,
sure.
Absolutely. Got to bring you back, because I'm going to have a lot of questions at the end of this season of Surreal Estate. And I hope Sci-Fi does the right thing and pick it up, man, for a second season, because it definitely deserves it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank again Adam Korson for being our guest tonight. We'll be back with you again tomorrow. And until tomorrow, on behalf of Adam and myself, stay safe and always stay walking. Good night, everyone.